Hey there, people. So today I am going to give you a guide to Unturned for beginners and noobs, such as I was not long ago. And I am a little more advanced than you may have seen in my videos so far, but I'm going to cover basic gameplay, scavenging, basic crafting, weapons, skills, and some simple base building. So reason I'm in the menu here still is, first of all, you have to familiarize yourself with the game. Important thing to note, actually, is that you can customize your player course in your survivors area here. And a really important part of that, when you go into character, you can choose your skill set, and that actually affects your stats for your player in the game. So I've got spec ops for using guns, but basically these different categories will give you bonuses or penalties to different areas, and you can read up on that elsewhere. But it's important to check and choose the kind of character that you think you're going to need for your level of gameplay and your type of gameplay. So keep that in mind. You can, of course, also change your appearance. Group also becomes important if you're playing particularly with others. You'll want to assign your group over here to the group. And by default, it uses Steam groups that you want to play with, and that's going to affect how people can access your base later as well. So just wanted to get started with that, and we'll get into the game and I'll tell you about the rest. Okay, so here we are in the game, and being that I'm recording this around the holidays, I figure I might as well do the festive Germany map, which is all snow and snow everywhere and has festive stuff going on. But anyway, first thing to talk about is the stats and the bars down at the bottom left there. So you'll notice first red bar is your health bar, of course. Second one is your hunger level. Third one is your water. And the fourth one that people get a little confused about is your level of immunity. So we'll talk about that in a second. And then below that, the little lightning thing, that's your energy. So if you're sprinting, that will start to run out just like that, and it will come back when you stop sprinting. It'll take a second. And then below that is your amount of air. So if I go and dive in the water, the bottom white bar will start to run out. So about that immunity, if you're eating food that is less than 50%, the quality level, so to speak, that means the food is rotten if it's less than 50%, and it's going to lower your immunity. If that immunity gets below 50%, you're probably going to die. And immunity can also be lowered if you go, if you get attacked by zombies, they can infect you. And if you go into the dead zone or other radiated areas, that will affect your immunity as well. So that's what that green bar is. Now, next thing is inventory management. So by default, it's G to bring up your inventory. I changed mine. And you'll see there's 4 tabs here. So there's inventory, crafting, skills, and information. I've changed almost all of those except for the last one. The default keys are G, Y, U, and M for shortcut keys to go straight to those areas. And yeah, you can see here, hands is the only area of your inventory that you'll always have by default. But you will also, when you get clothing, your clothing will allow you to have additional inventory space. You can get backpacks and travel bags and so on that will give you a little extra room as well. Different types of clothing will have different amounts of space. And then you'll see there's this box in the bottom left. That's your left hand, so to speak, and or your primary, actually. And your second box is your secondary. So those are your active items, and then there's this nearby area. So if you're standing where there's some stuff on the ground, that'll show up in the nearby, and you can drag stuff from one box to another box into your hands or into your inventory, and so on. So aside from that, there's the fighting zombies aspect of the game. So zombies actually will only follow you so far. Particularly, there is like a boundary around towns like this one. They'll only follow you to a certain distance outside of the town. That is an important tip that can be very useful. You can actually bring them to the edge and fight them there if you want to, and that'll make it easier. It's generally best to sneak up behind the zombies. I don't know if I want to dare to find a zombie right now, but generally you want to sneak up behind the zombies and whack them in the back of the head. You can stun them, and yeah, you can, especially if you come from behind, it's easier to take them out, and if you stun them, it's easier to get multiple hits in. So keep all that in mind. And yeah, so scavenging. Obviously, you can walk into buildings like I just did, and you can find stuff laying around. There's clothes, there's weapons, and so on. You'll find just by looking in things. Use your use key, which I think is E by default. I changed mine to, because I'm left-handed, I'm weird. But basically, you'll see shops around towns like these ones. They're fairly self-explanatory for what you're likely to find in them. Like there's grocery store is going to have probably food, and hardware store is going to have, you know, weapons and stuff, because you don't generally need actual hardware in that sense. But yeah, so you can salvage items, you can scavenge, get items, and then you can salvage those items. So if I go into my inventory, I have these clothes, and I can normally it's you've got one button to select and another button to bring up this little screen, and you can salvage these as well. So if you salvage clothes, they turn into cloth. And if you salvage weapons or various other things, they'll turn into metal scrap. You can also get armored items that'll turn into metal. But it's important when you're just starting out to start finding some clothes, and you can actually salvage those for cloth. And yeah, because when you get into basic crafting, 2 cloth gives you 1 rag. So if you go into crafting here, you'll find medical supplies under the medical symbol. That's what that is. So as I was saying, I've got 4 cloth. It'll tell you how many you have and how many you need. So I need 2 to make 1 rag. And there you go. And once I have 2 rags, I can make a bandage. From 2 rags, 1 bandage. And if you get 2 bandages, you can make a dressing. And that's another thing to note about going through the inventory here, that it will show you what you are able to craft based on the things you have by default. So there is this little option here to hide uncraftable blueprints that you don't have all of the stuff for. But by default, either way, whether that's on or off, it will only show you things that you have at least some of the components for. So as you find more stuff, you can come into the crafting menus and find more stuff that you can make. So these are all organized into sections. If you hover the mouse over them, it will tell you what those sections are. But yeah, your basic medical supplies are made from cloth. 2 cloth is a rag, 2 rags are a bandage, 2 bandages is a dressing, and you will sometimes break your leg, whether it's by being attacked by a zombie or falling or whatever. You can also make a splint from 2 metal scrap to fix your broken leg. And you'll of course want to watch your health bar. If your health bar is too low or if it's bleeding out, you can use these health items both to give you some extra health and also to stop the bleeding. That's what the bandages and so on are for. Stop the bleeding so that you don't run out of health before you die. Also, another very important thing that you can make from cloth is a bedroll. So you'll need 9 cloth to make a bedroll, and that is how you set your respawn point. So obviously that's very important as well. So generally you're going to want to go at the beginning looking for cloth, and you're going to want to go in places that are going to have cloth, like the clothing store, obviously, which in this case is guarded by a fire zombie. But you're going to want to get enough cloth to make some medical supplies, some bandages, and also to make your bedroll. And that's a great way to get started. Beyond that, you'll also want to make a saw. So a saw is made from 2 metal sheets, which in turn are each made from 2 metal scraps. So you'll need 4 metal scrap, which you can get by, again, salvaging weapons and other such items. You can salvage those to get some metal scrap, and when you have enough metal scrap, 4 metal scrap, you can make your 2 metal sheets and turn that into a saw. The saw is then used to break logs into planks and planks into sticks. You can also use it for cutting down trees. Actually, you can use any melee weapon for cutting down trees, technically. We'll get a little further into that. You can also, once you have that, you can make some other very valuable early game items like a fishing rod, which is made from 5 sticks and 2 rope, so you can go and catch fish. And you can also make a jerry can, because you will find these vehicles, and they've just added actually motorcycles and bicycles. So yeah, bicycle I don't need fuel for. It's the only one. It's just been added. But other vehicles you will need fuel for. So if I go and get that, I think it's a fire engine way down in the distance there. I will need to fuel that up. The vehicles will have a certain amount of fuel sitting in them, but you'll need to add fuel. You will find gas stations and other places where there's a big like fuel dump next to them. It's a big gray thing, not that thing. That's a construction site, but it's a long, big fuel tank. It's reasonably obvious. And if you have a jerry can, which you can make from 7 planks and 2 tape, you can fill that up with gas, and then you can use that full can to fill up a vehicle. You can also find gas tanks, which are a little better. It actually depends which kind of wood you use, whether it's birch, maple, or pine, how much fuel that jerry can will carry. So birch, it's 350, maple, it's 400, pine, it's 450. And that is a of course, very important game item early on so that you can fuel up some vehicles and get a little farther around without having to walk on foot. So again, they just added this bicycle as well, which is helpful for that before you find any fuel too. But another item that can be very useful is a vaccine. If you can find 1 can, 1 glue, 1 chemicals, and 1 bricks, those are not generally very easy to find, but if you can find all those, you can craft a vaccine, which is used to reduce infection, i.e. increase your immunity, that green meter that I was talking about. So yeah, that's your basic stuff. And of course, I've picked up a rake. So speaking of weapons, there are melee weapons, ranged weapons, and throwables. So rake, of course, is a melee weapon. And you can generally whack enemies with melee weapons or, you know, whatever, however the weapon works. Oh, yeah, and why don't I just show you this while I'm here? Again, whack them in the back of the head. Makes it easier. They don't get, especially if you stun them like that, when they wiggle back and forth, that's what I mean by stunning them, then that will allow you to take them out easier, because they didn't get a chance to turn around. So, yeah, that's how you use a basic melee weapon, obviously, and that's how you can take out a zombie fairly easily. And that allows you to explore little areas like that construction site where I just got some metal scrap. I only have 3. If I get 1 more, I can make that saw. But yeah, there are generally lots of melee weapons lying around. You can also craft bows and arrows fairly easily. A bow is made from 7 sticks, 1 rope, and then you make 3 arrows by using 3 sticks and a nail. So just 7 sticks and a rope, you can make your bow, and 3 sticks and a nail, you can make 3 arrows, and you can make more, of course. And that'll allow you to get started with a very basic ranged weapon. Guns are a little more rare. They can be found particularly in military bases. I'll want to actually get one and show you that, but let me just explain a little first. You will need an ammo clip and ammo in order to fire a gun, of course. But you'll need to actually, to refill the clip, you'll need to remove it manually and put it in your inventory and refill it from a box of ammo, and you will need to find the ammo. So if you have a gun, ideally you want to make multiple clips, and that way you can fill all the clips and you can reload fast just with your reload key, because otherwise you have to take out your clip, you have to refill the clip, and then you have to put it back in the gun, and unless you have multiple clips ready and full, that's going to slow down your reloading, obviously, quite a lot. Also, you can actually, there is one basic gun that you can craft early on, and that's the rifle. If you get 4 planks, 2 metal scrap, 1 rope, and 1 tape, you can make a basic rifle, and to make a rifle clip, you'll need 6 metal scrap. So you can scavenge around for the stuff you'll need to do all that. And you know what, I'm just going to... actually, first let me tell you about skills as well. Skills are bought with XP. XP is obtained both from harvesting resources, particularly trees, and killing zombies and other NPCs. So you will lose some skills and half of your XP when you die. And which ones you lose actually depends a little bit on which player type that you are. The player type will allow you to keep more skills in the area that your player is specialized in. So when you die, you lose half of your XP and some of your skills. The support skill tree, again, that's in here, and default key for that is actually U. But this is your skills, and there's skills in 3 areas: offense, defense, and support. So if you go into support, this is where you will find some of the skills you need for crafting. There's this crafting specialty, and if you level that up, you'll be allowed to craft more things. So it says think up more advanced blueprints. So if you level that up, it'll allow you to craft more things. You'll need level 2 to make metal structures, and level 3 to make things out of metal bars. You can also do cooking and fishing. So again, if you've got a fishing pole, you can level up your fishing specialty, your fishing skill, and that'll allow you to catch fish more easily. You can also do cooking, and if you have cooking level 1, you can stand near a campfire and you can cook the food, which will remove the immunity penalty for meats and things. So that's important to know as well. So your support area is actually very important. Of course, your other areas are important as well. Mechanic, and yeah, they're all explained in here. But look around and make sure that you're leveling up your skills when you have the experience to do so. It's important. So let me just do some stuff, and we'll get on to base building and so on, and I'll show you that bedroll and such. So one sec, I'll be back. Okay, so I'm out here on the edge of town, and I've got some of my supplies. So I'm going to show you. One of the things that is recommended actually is to put your base, your bedroll, whatever you're doing. You actually generally will want to be a little bit out of town, because zombies, of course, spawn in town. They don't spawn outside of town or outside of you know, areas with buildings or other objects, let's say. So if you're going to make a bedroll, if you're going to make a spawn point, you want to do it outside of town. So to start with, again, we'll want to go in here, and you can see now that I have more options. You'll find that the bedroll is over here in the furniture section, surprisingly enough. And again, it's 9 cloth to make one. I actually have twice as much as I need. So there we go. And so there's that I was talking about. And then in tools here, you can search as well. And I'm probably going to need to do that because I want a saw. Okay, and you'll actually find the metal sheets in the gear section, or you can search here. To make a saw, you're going to first need metal sheets, so you can either search for metal sheet, or you can go to gear, and it's here. 2 metal scrap makes 1 metal sheet, so we're going to do that twice. Now I have enough for that, and now I can make my saw, which is over in the tools section. 2 metal sheets equals 1 saw, and finally I have a saw, which is good for, again, not only cutting down trees, but turning logs into planks and planks into sticks, and so that becomes very useful as well. So at this point, I'm going to want to actually cut down some trees, and then I can start making a building. I can also just put this bedroll down on the ground. That's fine too, although of course if you're on a multiplayer server, that's not a lot of protection, and you may just want to build something just for fun. So I can equip that, and I can actually put it down. I can put it under this tree, and being that it's snow on the ground and it's white, that's not a bad place to put it actually. And then you'll need to claim your bedroll by pushing your use key. That's usually E minus delete because I'm weird. But yeah, you'll if you're on a multiplayer server, both your base and your bedroll, you'll want to keep them camouflaged, and we'll get into that a little further. But there's the basic idea: get your bedroll, set your spawn point, put it outside of town. Ideally, find somewhere nice and hidden to put it. And yeah, that's how you get started with that. And now I'm going to cut down some trees. We'll make a bow. I'll also maybe make a gun, and we'll show you how to build a base. Okay, so we're back. I'm out on the edge of town here, just outside of town with my bedroll, and I'm going to tell you about a few more things and then get to base building. So a couple items about scavenging actually. While you're scavenging, the items will respawn after a certain amount of time. So if you're in a building, it's actually best to, especially if you're playing by yourself, to not make it too obvious. If you open up the cabinets, the fridges, and all that stuff, and just leave them open, because you'll know when things have respawned because they'll suddenly be closed again. So you can go around to the same houses, the same buildings, and actually get stuff over and over again. That stuff will respawn. Another thing is, if you fill your food and water up high enough, if they're both above 90%, your health will regenerate. That's important to know as well. And yeah, so let's get into actually crafting a base and crafting a couple of weapons. So you'll notice I have tons and tons of pine logs because I went out and cut down some trees. Again, you can use your saw for that. I did find an axe. A fire axe is a little bit quicker. A camp axe is particularly a little quicker for cutting down trees. And of course, if you can find a chainsaw, which you may find around in certain areas, chainsaw will be the fastest yet. But fire axe I managed to find in the fire department. That's an easy one to get, and that will cut down the trees a little faster. But you will still need your saw. Again, your saw can be found actually, or crafted more likely and more easily, from 4 metal scrap, which becomes 2 metal sheets, and then a saw. And that is what you're going to need to break those logs into planks and sticks. So to show you how to do that, that's going to be in your crafting. You've got structures and you've got barricades. For actual structures, you can just do that directly from logs. You can see 3 pine logs makes 1 pine floor. 3 logs makes a doorway. We're going to need one of those. And you can also make pillars for the corners. So we're going to want 4 of those. I'm going to need more pine. And you can also make, actually, yeah, there we go. And you can also make, of course, a ceiling. And we'll get to a door in a second. So here we go. I've got all these things ready to go. Let's equip our floor. I can put that down. And of course, red means you can't place it there. Green means you can. So let's just put that there. Now, if you're doing this on a multiplayer server, you're going to want to be a little more careful. You're going to want to, again, hide your base well out of the way, ideally out somewhere far. And you may want to choose your materials to blend in. Obviously, a dark brown floor is not blending into the snow here. If you used... of course, you won't generally find birch in snowy areas, but it would blend in better. You can also, you don't necessarily have to build a structure with like a floor and 4 walls and a ceiling and a doorway and all that. Although we'll get to how that can be useful too. If you're just starting out, you can actually build your little house with your floor and your pillars and put a ceiling on it with an actual hatch, and you can build ladders up, and you can actually then remove the bottom part and go up the ladder, and you can build, however many levels you want up. Depending where you are, the trees that you're dealing with, you can actually hide a little tree house up in there and actually remove the bottoms. You can even remove the ladders and put your bedroll up top so that basically people can't easily follow you up, although of course if they notice it, they can build their own ladders and come up. But anyway, that's a little aside. Let's go ahead and start putting this on. I think I need the pillars first, actually. So we need the pillars in the corners. We can put a doorway in. And see, now that we have the pillars, we can put that doorway in. I'm going to get to how you can lock doors as well. But let me go and cut down some more trees. Okay, so I finished putting the walls and the ceiling on my little house here. I am going to now craft a bow, a rifle, and a door for this, and then I'm going to show you how to do some storage. You can stick a crate in here. So how this is going to work, first of all, in here, I'm actually just going to search for this bow. Oh yeah, right, we need crafting 1. So again, that's where we go into our support tree, crafting. And there we go, crafting 1. I can now make a bow. Bam, bow. And then we're going to need some arrows for that. So that's 3 sticks plus a nail to make your arrows. So we're going to do that now. I can do I think to do a rifle, I still need one more plank. I've got 3 in my inventory. So you can see here, you can turn planks into sticks. You can turn sticks back into planks. You can turn logs into planks. So I'm going to do that. And then rifle. There we go. Oh, maple or birch, you can't make it out of pine? No, there it is. Yeah, there it is. I just didn't scroll up. Okay, so pine rifle. Bam. Pine rifle, just like that. And here we go. Actually, rifle clip is the other thing I was looking for. So you need 6 metal scrap to make 1 rifle clip. And there we go. Now we've got all that. And that actually does, I guess, come with bullets in it, which is good to know. I wasn't sure if that was going to be the case because I've never actually done it before, if you can believe that. So let's just swap that in here. There's that, and obviously the bow takes a lot of space. If you keep it in your inventory, you're probably going to want to keep these things equipped, but I can now do this. I can load my clip in there. And again, to actually load and unload ammo into the clip, you're going to need to inspect your rifle like that. And you're going to want to click on your clip there. And that will return it to your inventory. If you have a box of ammo, you can then load it with more ammo. But for now, I'm just going to put that clip in there. And that gives you a good basic gun that you can actually craft. It's got sights. It's pretty accurate as long as you're using the sights. If you just fire while running, it's not so good. But now let's just swap that with our bow. And this is one thing I find a little bit annoying. Sometimes it's easier just to take things out of your inventory or unequip them. Oh, because it takes actually even more space. So there you go. And yeah, so you also have, you can do a bow and arrow that way if you don't have all the materials for the gun maybe, or if you want to be like quiet. The arrow is good for, bow and arrow is good for stealth attacks. You can also find a compound bow. But then let's get around to making a door. So thing about doors, if you make a wooden door, anyone can open it and close it. So if you want a restricted access door, you have to make a metal door. So to make a metal door, you need 7 planks and 1 metal scrap. So I'm going to need some more planks. Okay, here we are. So I can now make my metal door. It's actually currently 2 metal sheets and 1 metal scrap. So it actually takes a lot of metal to make a metal door, which makes sense. What I had read said a different recipe involving wood and metal scrap. It was 7 planks and 1 metal scrap, but apparently now it's 2 metal sheets and 1 metal scrap. So I now have my door, and again, you need a metal door for it to be considered locked. Of course, ideally, you'll notice when you have metal that you can actually make metal walls, and you know, you can make a completely metal building, which will be a lot harder for people to destroy when you get a little further along. Another thing I want to do here, though, is make a crate, because of course we need storage as well. So I'm not sure if does that show up under furniture, but anyway, I need a couple more planks here, so I guess that's going to be here. Or actually I need more sticks. So then I'm also going to need more planks after that. So there we go, got some more sticks, some more planks, and now I should be able to make a crate in here somewhere. Yep, here we go, pine crate. So 7 planks and 3 sticks to make a pine crate. And that is your most basic storage device. Once you have a crate, you can also actually upgrade that to a chest or a locker. You will need to have the craftsman skill tree upgraded to do that. Basically, each level of that requires you to have a higher level of the craftsman skill. So let's just look those up just so I can show you the recipe. So a chest, yeah, I probably need to actually upgrade my level even to be able to see that. And you can also make a locker, which is made out of metal. Anyway, your basic unit is your crate. So I now have a door and a crate, and I can put those in here, and we can... Actually, now's a good time to swap in my flashlight because it's getting dark again. This did take a long time to make. So we can now stick my crate in here. Put that maybe in the corner there. I can equip my door, put my door on here. You can see it actually looks like there's a lock on it. Again, you're not going to have any like lock unlock mechanics. It's based on your group that you're in Unturned, who can open and close that door. And once you have your little house built, or whether you do a tree fort or whatever you do, you can now salvage your bedroll if you've placed it already, and you can put it inside here. Close the door, and we're relatively safe. I have a place to live, and that's the idea. So I can access my storage. You can see you get quite a bit of storage there, and if you upgrade that to a chest or a locker, you'll get even more storage, and you can stash your loot in there. So build your house, way out of the way so that other people don't get it if you're playing on a multiplayer server. Try to camouflage it, use materials that blend in with your surroundings, build it in a way that it blends in with your surroundings, and have your bedroll, have your house, have your storage, have all your stuff, and you'll have a base of operations. And of course you can get way more advanced from there, but that's how you get started, how you begin in Unturned for noobs and beginners. Hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.